On this episode of Fresh Insights from Fresh Faces, we're going to discuss the role of guides and other digital media assets in helping you book campus tours. So hello and welcome to Fresh Insights from Fresh Faces, brought to you by Link Media 360 Senior Living. This is a weekly video show dedicated to resident acquisition strategies for sales and marketing leaders at senior living communities. And we thank you so much for being here today. My name is Jeff, and I am joined by our resident occupancy marketing expert, Phil Smith.
Hey,
Phil,
Jeff,
how you doing today?
How are you?
Doing well, Phil?
I am doing well. Thanks for asking, Jeff. Thanks for having me out today.
Look, before we get started, and Phil, you're looking rather snazzy in that purple shirt.
Thank you.
Okay.
Had to put on a little color for the episode today.
Yeah, well, it looks like a lovely day. The bright, shiny sunlight coming in from behind you. So
it is.
Live from the Link Media offices. So before we get started today, I wanted to ask our great audience out there, we thank you for being here today. Tell us where you're watching us from, please. Just throw it in the comments box, what city you're watching us from. And we'd love to hear even what your favorite color is, if you choose not to disclose your location. You know, a lot of people are touchy about their location, right? They may not want to share that they're working from home. So.
Right. Well, hopefully there's a couple of purples out there that get lined up for us today.
I think, Phil, you're going to influence the purple vote today, actually, right?
I hope so.
All right. So, look, enough of the less than witty banter. So let's jump in. Last episode, we discussed the role of your website in helping your community book campus tours. And we slightly touched upon this role of guides and other digital media assets in booking campus tours. And that's the topic of the day today is how are guides and other digital media assets really influential, if not highly effective in helping you book campus tours for your community? So, Phil, I know you have a lot to say about this topic. I had to shut you down last time. So why don't you just jump right in?
Right. Yeah, Jeff. So there's so many different ways that guides or content can really manifest themselves to help book more campus tours. So today I just want to try to define what a senior living guide is and the many forms that it can take. And really there's so many things that we can put on a website to help a senior or help their adult child influencer or their loved one really better understand our community, better understand our offering, and also help them make decisions along the way, which I think is so important. So that first decision-making tool I'd really like to discuss is the guide. And a guide can look something like this, Jeff. So this is one of our client guides here. It's a pretty robust document. It's got about 22 different pages in it. It starts out with really just kind of defining this as a CCRC or life plan community. So it really defines what is a life plan community, how it works. Really, they call it the ABCs of the CCRC. That's, it's clever, but it also allows us to provide our brand perspective on our levels of care or the services that we offer, which I think is super important.
Absolutely. And just for clarification, the sake of clarification, the guide that you just showed, even though it's a printed copy, that's a digital asset, right? That is stored on the website. And how do you typically where is it on the website? How do you get there? Communities, a significant investment for any senior living community or CCRC are the publications they create, the heavyweight glossy paper. It thumps when you drop it on the desk, and they're beautiful expressions of the community.
Correct.
And that same beautiful expression of the community can be put on the website and typically in a downloadable form.
Right, absolutely. And that's one of the great things about this content is really we can gate that content. So that's one of the advantages is when you put it on the website, what you actually do is you make sure that they have to just provide or ask them to provide a name and an email address to access your content. And what that will allow your community to do is not only increase the marketing qualified leads that you have, but it will also, again, give you more fuel for, say, a program like marketing automation. I won't get too deep into the integration, Jeff, but
Right.
this is one of the great areas where we can really fuel some of our current channels and some of our current efforts through this gated content.
So you're saying gated content, and that means putting a form. If someone clicks on the link download, right, or learn
Right.
more, a form is presented and where you have to leave your name. And it's effectively like raising your hand, like, yes, I'm interested and I want to learn more. It's interesting you say gated content because there's this great debate out, in the internet and online marketing world to gate or not to gate, right? And what do you think about how deep does a guide have to be to deserve the gating of it, or are some guides basically just like superficial and you just should kind of let them out there?
Great question. I think that is really kind of an internal discussion based on what you're actually producing and what the goals of that content are. But for me, if it's 3 or 4 pages and it's just a checklist, share that with everybody. Share it on social media. Really get it out there in front of people. But if you're going to take the time, again, to have this big packet that includes even questions you should ask when visiting other communities, an expense calculator, essentially, let's look at what you're spending now on your mortgage, your utilities, etc., versus moving into a community. I mean, this is a really robust document. So that's something that I would want in exchange for all of this information. I would want the ability to at least contact you and ask you what you thought of the guide. So I think if it's an in-depth piece, Jeff, we need to gate it and put it behind a form so we can market to those individuals.
Okay, that makes sense. And that's great. That's a great answer, Phil. I mean, the higher the quality and the more depth of information, the more readily we should put it behind, the gate, right? And ask for that email address in return for the great information. Absolutely.
And there's actually a couple of more advantages to having a guide like this on your website, gated or not. It's first and foremost, though, Jeff, this is really what users are after. It's going to provide your potential residents and their loved ones the content and the information that they're really looking for. And in fact, when you have things like I just mentioned, the different questions you should be asking, how to prepare. A lot of these guides have the how-tos, how to downsize, how to pay for retirement, etc. That's what they're really trying to understand. Because, Jeff, as we know, as a senior looking to make this move, this is a tough decision. You're asking me to move into your community and move out of the house that I've raised my children in, possibly my grandchildren. I've made all my memories, in the house, and now you want me to sell it and move into your community. So that's a big step for a lot of seniors to really take. So how can we get that? And if you remember last week, I mentioned that warm and fuzzy feeling,
right?
That we need to get online. That's another place where they get that warm and fuzzy, and they really can tell that your community cares about them finding the right retirement option for their loved one or themselves, and you're not out there just looking to push yourself. So I think that's super important.
So it sounds like it creates that degree of continuity, right? So if you come and show up on the campus tour and you're live in person with the great members and the great staff, if you read the downloadable guide, that same feeling should really be consistent when accessing that information.
Right. Absolutely. And it's thought leadership, right? When we talk about what is a CCRC, how to define it, or how to downsize, how to retire, how to pick the right community, that's building thought leadership. But more importantly, Jeff, we're building trust. And we're building trust with our users, with our referral partners, with anybody who's interacting with our brand. So again, another great campaign goal is that thought leadership, that trust, and we're able to do that with one of these guides. And then one of the other things, Jeff, that it does is, again, as we just mentioned, it harmonizes that on and offline experience.
Right.
So it really allows me to share my perspective on how I'm helping our residents make this transition. So it allows me as a marketer to not be a salesperson, but to really be a consult through the process. And for us, that's some of the biggest impact that you can have for some of these seniors, is just helping them understand what to do next.
Right. So this guide almost, it serves as a teacher, right? It teaches when your potential residents are in learning mode, they're in research mode, they're not quite sure, but they're investigating.
Absolutely.
This guide is almost like it teaches when your prospects are in learning mode. And so that's a great, provides a great service and adds a great value to this really tough decision-making process that you mentioned.
Right. And again, it's just being able to have these guides. They're just such an excellent piece of content that, again, does more than just be a guide. It fuels marketing automation, harmonizes your brand messaging, keeps the user experience consistent, and then again builds that trust and credibility that we're looking for.
Right.
But there's a couple other decision-making tools out there, Jeff, that we can put on the website to help our seniors make decisions outside of just guides.
Right. Well, before we get into those other tools, so I love what you said about trust and credibility and illustrating, the value and the feeling of the community. Right. But not to get too commercial, but it's a great lead generation tool, right? I mean, it straight up, I know we mentioned it before, but if you want to get leads, put, the information out there, gate it up, and that will really just, fill that funnel, right?
Absolutely. Totally agree. And especially because like independent living, it can be an 18-month cycle or more for some of these people to make that decision from initial inquiry to move in. So to have your brand with this type of material out in front of them in month 1 makes it a little bit easier to get back in front of them month 6 or month 12 when they're a little bit closer and a little bit further in their resident journey.
Right. Okay, good. That sounds good. That makes sense. So Phil, I know we talked about the guide, but you were going to mention some other types of digital media assets that we can put on the website?
Yeah, so there's a ton of these. And again, the guide is really the gated content. But there's a couple other decision-making tools, interactive floor plans. So it's great to have floor plans on your website. We do recommend it, whether it be PDF or interactive. But it's certainly important to give your potential residents an idea of what they could be experiencing on the community. And so there's a way to actually turn your floor plans into these interactive models that are 3D, where you can actually change the size of furniture. You can drop furniture in, take furniture out. So it's that interactive element there that allows a senior or an ACI to really stay longer on your site and interact with some of the other things that you have going on. So that's the first one. The second one, it's actually not widely used in the space right now, but it's a care survey. So if you offer multiple levels of care and they're open to the community outside the broader community, not just your residents, it's really tough sometimes for an ACI to figure out, does my parent need assisted living? Do they need skilled nursing? Do they need enhanced assisted living or enhanced independent living? What exactly do they need? What level of care is appropriate?
Right.
So you can put a simple survey on the site, and what it'll allow you to do is to click through and answer some questions about yourself or your loved one or parent. And at the end of the survey, it'll actually say, oh, you're qualified for our service, which is enhanced assisted living and personal care. And go ahead, Jeff.
I think that's so important because as you know, this hits home really closely as someone with an aging parent who's living by herself. I think this industry has so many acronyms, and it's confusing for a consumer that actually does have a need and is, thinking, in this kind of 12 to 18 month cycle, how I enter and what level of care and what's the difference between assisted living and senior living and CCRC and just there are so many acronyms in this industry. As a consumer, I just want to know, what the situation is based upon what my parents' perspective is, how they are and what their kind of state is from a health and mental standpoint. I'm taking it from their perspective, and I don't care about all the acronyms, right? I just tell me what I need, but it's based upon the situation of the consumer itself. So That's good. I love that survey.
Right. I think the survey is great. And what you can do, Jeff, is you can actually include a form at the end of the survey. If you'd like to hear more about this service line, fill this email out. And again, it goes back to that email marketing automation. You drop them right in if they need assisted living, you drop them in the assisted living workflow, hit them with the right content that they're looking for at the right time. And that's, our ideal scenario.
Right. That's fantastic. I mean, so we're providing a great service and we're adding great value.
Right.
And we're still, achieving a commercial outcome, which, once again, this is a business show, right? We're talking to sales and marketing leaders here, and it's nice that you get both, right? You get add value to your potential resident, and you achieve your lead generation goals.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And then one of the other things that's a great tool that's out there is like a cost calculator. Again, I mentioned that in this guide. But you can also just put a cost calculator on your physical website. So that's another a great decision-making tool. Rate sheets is another decision-making tool. Some communities want to put their rates online. Some don't. That's an internal decision. But a lot of people when they pick the phone up, what's the first question they ask? Hey, what's it cost for XYZ? Because by the time, as we know, Jeff, in the information age, by the time somebody picks the phone up, they're already 50% of the way through the decision-making process. Yeah. So if we can qualify or unqualify individuals before they pick that phone up, it'll reduce the clutter for our marketing individuals. It will help streamline our conversations. Plus, it allows individuals to just know, hey, can I afford this or not? And does it make sense for me to spend my time calling you if I can't afford it?
Right.
So that's, again, that's an internal discussion, but certainly a great decision guide. Another one is interactive maps. If you have a multi-location setup and you have multiple communities, a really great interactive map that shows some pin needles and where they're located is a great way, again, to increase the interactive portion of your website, which, again, is important for users. Some of the other things out there, drone videos or flybys of the community, those are awesome. We've got a couple of partners that client partners that have these videos, and they're really, really awesome. And it just shows, for some of those communities, just shows how great they really are, how much land they have, what activities you can do. It's a really cool thing to see, especially from a drone's perspective.
Well, that is interesting, because if so many communities take great care in their landscaping, right, and they really want to have a consistent experience, right? So it's internally consistent and it's externally consistent, and one would assume if someone takes great care in their landscaping and the look and feel and the overall experience of their community from an exterior standpoint, then the assumption is, well, if they care so much about the landscaping and weeding and, the roof,
everything,
a drone video, then the internal care must be wonderful as well.
Right.
That's like when you see a dirty bathroom at a restaurant, you're like, I'm leaving.
Right. Exactly. That's a great point, Jeff. No, that's great. No, because again, we want to show it off. This is something that can tell our different and better story. And not that just because we have a drone video means that I'm going to give you a call over somebody else, but at least it's an opportunity to put yourself one little baby step ahead of somebody else. And that's all you really need in this space.
Right. So manicured lawns with drones.
With drones. Right.
All right. Good deal. Anything else, Phil?
Yeah, just two more, Jeff. Live chat. There's a lot of ways to interact with individuals on your site via live chat, whether it's a live person or more of a service that's provided to you from a third party. But we've seen some good engagement numbers there. And then also really feature your resident stories and testimonials. People want to hear about what the people that currently live there, what they really think. So for us, we always say that the more resident stories we can add, and especially if they're in video format, so they can really feel the resident. I mean, we're talking some very, very cool marketing and some really interactive pieces at that point.
Absolutely. I mean, video, especially of the residents and their stories, and it's much more an authentic way to express yourself, and it's just like television. It's motion and emotion, and the emotion,
Yeah.
and especially the emotional connections you want to establish
Exactly.
when you're considering a community, given how big of an emotional decision this is, as well as
Right.
whether your lifestyle decision. I think video is an amazing tool to help really just bring give an authentic perspective on that community.
I couldn't agree more, Jeff.
Great, Phil. This was I'm a little overwhelmed right now.
Okay.
Sounds like so clearly guides and other digital media assets are an important part of a resident acquisition strategy housed on the website.
Right.
Most likely the value is so great that the content is all gated. And once again, it's adding value, but it's also helping us generate leads, right? It's helping the community generate leads. And once again, we're not going to spam these leads, right? I think what we're going to talk about next week is once you have this content and people are downloading and interested in this content, the role that conversions play, right? So how do you drive conversions, and what calls to action do you use? So what is the best call to action? Learn more, subscribe, click here. It's all, once again, it has to be consistent with the site, but there's so many different calls to action you can use and test. And I think, we're probably going to get into testing quite a bit in the next episode, correct?
Absolutely. Yep. Split testing, A/B testing, all sorts of things, Jeff.
Okay. So I'll bring my calculator next time, right?
Right.
All right. Good. Well, perfect. So please join us for the next episode of Fresh Insights from Fresh Faces, where we will discuss the role of conversions and calls to action in helping you book campus tours. And in the interim, Phil, if anyone has questions or comments, concerns, can they send you an email?
Yeah, please reach out to me at psmith@linkmedia360.com.
Great. Thanks. And that also, I think we can go to the website as well, visit the Link Media 360 blog,
right,
where all of these episodes will be housed on the blog. And you can even go back and check out episode 1 as well.
Right. Excellent.
All right, Phil, this has been really helpful. Appreciate your time today. So we will see you next week.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I'll talk to you then.
All right, Phil. Thanks. You have a great day. Thank you, everyone.
Too.